What's happening, Bulls? Happy Saturday. How are you? It is a big and glorious day for crypto because Bitcoin's just hit 95k. Some of the altcoins are lifting off the ground. If you've got an altcoin portfolio, it's probably up a couple of percent, maybe 5%, 10%. Depends on what you're sitting in. So you'd be pretty happy with that, I'm sure. Some coins are up marvelously. Sui being an overperformer, Solana being a large performer. We'll go into all that. We've got heaps to cover. We'll try and cover it as quick as we can for you, zip through it. We've got A-grade technical analysis to pass on, show you or teach you a few things, but we'll cover the news and we'll blend it in with the charts. So we'll mix it all up. I've got a couple of altcoins for you to watch and a couple of strategies for you to take into your stride as well. So let's get into that. Firstly and foremost, we've got some big news coming from CNBC. They just said banks can now provide all the Bitcoin services they want. Here we go, rocket ship emoji. Let's watch this together.
Squawk this morning, banking.
Oh shit! One sec.
Regulators pulling back some U.S. cryptocurrency guidance. This is interesting, guys, because the Fed said it was withdrawing supervisory letters that said that banks should seek advance approval from authorities before engaging in crypto asset and stablecoin activities. In addition, the Fed, the FDIC, and the Office of the Controllers of the Currency pulled back statements from 2023 that urged banks to be careful when it comes to crypto-related risks. During the 2024 campaign for the White House, President Trump promised crypto investors that he would have their backs if he was reelected. In a statement announcing the latest changes, the Fed said that regulators would look into whether new guidance to support crypto asset innovation was appropriate. But it means effectively that I think a lot of those letters had scared the banking system sort of out of getting meaningfully involved in crypto. And now they're saying, do what you like.
Here's the question. I mean, because it's the Fed doing that, it's not like an executive order where it's going to get whipsawed if another administration comes in 4 years, I would assume. But again, the politicization of it probably has some things a little concerned about whether the winds would change again at some point. I guess maybe it's better because it's coming from the Fed.
Well, I think part of it's coming from the Fed, and it sounded like part of it was coming from
the administration. That's what I don't understand. This was part of the campaign promises to do these things. Again, businesses just don't like getting whipsawed by changes in administrations that lead to huge changes in policy.
I don't know if this means that all of a sudden you're going to go to your local Chase on the corner and be taking Bitcoin. But you can't take Bitcoin.
Look, I guess it does feel very different. It does feel very different in that crypto is becoming much more widely accepted, and maybe if they can get more regulation that kind of cements that, maybe it would make the banks feel a little better about it.
I mean, look, we used to interview Janet Yellen, and she would always talk to you about the risks of it.
Right.
By the way, Jamie Dimon would talk to you about the risks of it. So I don't know. It's interesting because there are people in the banking system who still have their own views of the risks.
But I think the banking system would also like to offer their customers whatever their customers want.
Look, Larry Fink was against it until he was for it.
Until he wasn't. Right.
Exactly. They're against it until they're for it. The winds are changing. The regulation, the compliance, the red tape, the policies, all these things, they fully suppress the innovation and the growth of the crypto industry, especially if we're talking outside of Bitcoin. So if we're just talking Bitcoin and Bitcoin just does Bitcoin things, Bitcoin just store values it. You don't hear people trying to make rules around gold very often, do you? But these other altcoins, these other technologies, these blockchains, things change, things happen, and they have been very suppressed, and the tides are changing, especially the attitude. We hit a big milestone today. People, including yourself, may underestimate this, potentially because it is now very, very difficult to go back to new lows. This is just what I'm saying. It can happen, but It's 95k. It's 95k. It's 95k. It's 95k. 95k. It's 95k. 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 Okay, just for louder for those in the back. 95k again Happened quick, didn't it? I'm going to do just a little montage of all the Discord calls that we've put together over the last couple of weeks about how 70K's got to buy, bottom, looks like a bottom, multiple bottom signals. If you've been listening, then you're in for it. But off the bottoms, let's just have a quick little look. Okay, so we're 28% off the bottom. We'll go back to this Bitcoin chart very soon, but 28% off the bottom. Okay, that's no small chunk of change for Bitcoin. That's a big deal. It's a big thing, a big deal. A big deal. Another big deal is the global M2 money supply versus Bitcoin. So this is a trending thing, but it's always, if you've been watching Raoul Pal, if you've been following it, if you've been following anybody's, Ray Dalio, just general understanding of liquidity and how money moves around. Money comes into the system, more money, therefore being available for use, accessible, and then pushed into scarce and valuable assets. And this process takes time, and they believe that they've found the exact time that it takes for new money to come into the system, into the globe. So printed money coming into these countries, comes in, gets printed, new money, pushes the Bitcoin price up. 84 days. So global M2 money supply offset by 84 days. It more or less follows Bitcoin pretty much to a T. So that's the Bitcoin price. And then this yellow one is the global M2 money supply. So all the money in the world, the best estimate of it. And then you've just like clicked and dragged it 84 days ahead. And look at this. You can't do that. It's just liquidity. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, and this is a daily chart. Look, this goes all the way back to May last year. Like, this is one of the most seriously, like, well, I mean, if this plays out, obviously we're going to 170K now, literally now in the next couple of months. It could happen, but what I'm saying to you is, it doesn't get much better than that when you lay over fractals and stuff. This is very, very, very intense, very accurate. So this is pretty impressive, and it just fits in with everything. It's just, this is trending, but this is it's what it is. It's money supply, and it's as simple as that. More money, so the money gets deflated, becomes less valuable, and people just spend it. Run to safety straight away. I've got a video here from Jack Mallers. He's very captivating when he speaks, very passionate. One of the guys that claims to be just all Bitcoin, doesn't even get any dollars, just lives his life in Bitcoin. This is a longer video. We'll just have a little look at the start. We'll gauge it. We'll gauge a feeling, and we'll see if we want to listen to the whole thing, but I don't think so. All right.
Jack, when did this idea come to be?
The founding story. So I co-founded the business with Tether. I would say I've known the Tether Group for over a decade. There just weren't that many Bitcoiners around over 10 years ago. So we've done a lot of work together in El Salvador, et cetera. We've been so inspired by Michael Saylor and all of the public companies acquiring Bitcoin. But I would say over the last few years, that inspiration turned into what we thought was an opportunity and a hole in the market that we could deliver on, which is bringing blue chip credibility and startup upside. We feel like we can bring enough capital and be big enough to win. We're small enough to grow, and most importantly, a pure Bitcoin business. A lot of these companies, they're pivoting from a past operating business. They're rebranding, changing their name. They're maybe selling video games to buy Bitcoin or selling medical equipment to buy Bitcoin. Right. And we're a purpose-built Bitcoin company. We're going to build Bitcoin products, Bitcoin cash flow, and we're going to give Bitcoin per share growth to shareholders and be hopefully the best way for investors to get Bitcoin exposure in the public markets.
Jack, I think off camera, just before we started, you used the word vehicle, a vehicle for Bitcoin. I think like a reasonable question that people have is, what does the CEO of a new company whose mission is to accumulate Bitcoin do day to day? Like, what is it that you're going to try and manage or achieve?
Yeah, so for all the Bitcoiners out there, we encourage you to check out our filing. We've introduced two new metrics to the public markets. One is BPS, stands for Bitcoin per share, as opposed to earnings per share. And the other is BRR, which stands for Bitcoin return rate. And my job and what I'm dedicated to do for our shareholders, in which we view similar to our customers, is grow our Bitcoin per share. So we're an operating company. And when you buy a share of 21, in a hypothetical sense, what we intend to do is, let's say our Bitcoin per share is 0.05. Our intent is to be able to grow that to 0.06 Bitcoin per share, 0.07 Bitcoin per share. Where a vehicle like an ETF, your exposure is static. So 20.
There you go. More metrics, more transparency. He's trying to make a more, transparent understanding of a company that you can invest in that owns Bitcoin, mainly just owns Bitcoin on their balance sheet, so you can sort of understand where you're at instead of the whole, smoke and mirrors that comes with the MicroStrategy somewhat. The next one we've got here is we're going to go into the charts very soon. I just had a couple of videos to go through with you, which is what we're doing right now, but just go into this one because this is pretty big news. The new SEC chair, Paul Atkins, says he's eager to tackle issues facing Bitcoin and move the cryptocurrency industry forward. So just remember the large contrast as opposed to Gary Gensler, the previous SEC chair. So let's see what he's got to say, see if we like him or not.
I am eager to tackle long-festering issues such as the regulatory treatment of digital assets and distributed ledger technologies, and working with my fellow commissioners and the staff in doing it, and soliciting outside input as well, obviously. So this is important work as entrepreneurs across the United States are harnessing blockchain technology to modernize aspects of the financial system. I expect huge benefits from this market innovation in terms of efficiency, cost reduction, transparency, and risk mitigation. Market participants engaging with this technology deserve clear regulatory rules of the road. Innovation, unfortunately, has been stifled for the last several years due to market and regulatory uncertainty that, unfortunately, the SEC has fostered. So I look forward to engaging with market participants and working with colleagues in President Trump's administration and Congress to establish a rational, fit-for-purpose framework for crypto assets.
You would never hear Gary Gensler say anything about did you hear that? Looking forward to engaging with Trump's administration. You would absolutely never hear Gary Gensler, if you remember. You'd never hear anything come out of his mouth even close to that at all. So this is a really nice change, really exciting change. Bitcoin supercycle question mark coming from some wanker. Bitcoin is mirroring the legendary Livermore accumulation cylinder pattern. We're at stage 7. So there's different ways to draw a channel, Like me personally, so when's this go back to? 2023. So if we flick over to Bitcoin here, see like people will just draw, like me personally, I'd be drawing that differently, but this is what I'm always saying about these trend lines is they are dynamic. They need to move. They tell a story. The story is where the trend is. Okay, you don't really you're not meant to typically base, especially in volatile assets, base strategies entirely around trend lines, because you will just keep, like this will come higher, so then you'll move it higher, and this comes lower, so then all of a sudden you're dragging this lower, and you just keep moving it to fit. And that's all right if you use it for that purpose. So an old, it's old voodoo, but it's just a simple trend finishing with a parabolic rise, which is how most trends finish, whether it's an uptrend or a downtrend. So he's calling for, I guess he's run the numbers by the look, so he's calling for a 400,000 top. But, we do see Bitcoin does typically top like this. It makes a high, makes a lower high, and then it plummets like a stone. Who knows how far that it will go to. But just to remember, mass adoption, sovereign accumulation, institutional demand, we are just getting warmed up with Bitcoin at least. With Bitcoin at least, we are just getting warmed up. Last video coming up, because again, like I said, we've got this is a stacked video here. Look at this. BlackRock's Jay Jacobs says central banks are looking to diversify into Bitcoin. Bitcoin thrives when you have more uncertainty. Remember, BlackRock is the largest money manager in the entire world. Let's see what he's got to say. We'll see how far we get.
Crypto is now about to decouple from U.S. tech stocks. Many are talking about sell U.S. assets kind of behavior in the global markets. Do you think this is the moment?
Well, crypto over the long run is decoupled from U.S. tech stocks. I think what you have to look at is, are you looking on a short-term basis or are you looking over a longer-term basis? Over a short-term basis, you can see all types of different assets have rising correlations to each other. And in fact, if you look at the last few weeks under more market uncertainty, you've seen everything from stocks and bonds to crypto trading with higher correlations. But if you zoom out, you tend to see the kind of longer-term fundamental thesis of something like Bitcoin really drive it to behave differently than traditional assets. The long-term correlation between U.S. stocks and Bitcoin is more like 0.2 or 0.3. It's a lowly correlated asset. And it's because what drives stocks, which tends to be things like higher growth, higher certainty, lower geopolitical risk, many of those things actually are kind of opposite drivers for Bitcoin. Bitcoin thrives when you have more uncertainty and are looking for something that's going to behave differently. So fundamentally, this should behave like an uncorrelated asset. And I think as we continue to see more time play out in this uncertain environment, you will see a dispersion between these assets.
Yeah, so Jay, what we're talking about here is crypto or Bitcoin as alpha, right? Uncorrelated assets and also return. So directionally, tell me, right, if this tariff situation globally, right, doesn't resolve itself, drags on, or fingers crossed, gets worse, right? We can probably expect stocks to take a further leg down, bonds to go down to $2 as well, and for crypto and Bitcoin to continue going up. Would that be fair?
We would think over the long term, if this is the trajectory of kind of greater uncertainty around the world, that things like gold and things like Bitcoin should continue to go up. It is this type of uncertainty where people are looking for alternatives, parts of their portfolio. They're going to behave separately from stocks and bonds. We've seen it in the flows. We've seen it in how investors are positioning. We've seen significant inflows into gold ETFs. We've seen significant inflows into Bitcoin. And this is all because people are looking for those assets that will behave differently.
So let me ask you, right? I mean, it'd be easy to sort of pin it on the president and the trade war, right? But this whole diversification away from traditional assets and into things like gold and also like crypto, right? Probably began 3-4 years ago, or at least 2-3 years ago, right? Because a lot of people pinpoint Russia's most recent invasion of Ukraine and, how $300 billion worth of Russian central bank money got seized and is sitting somewhere in Belgium right now as a trigger for countries like China, say, to stop recycling their surplus into treasuries, or not as much, and more into things like gold and into crypto. I mean, that's fair, right?
Well, if you look at a few things, one is if you look at central banks around the world, a continued movement towards diversification beyond just holding dollars is something that's been happening for decades. So the switch from just holding dollars to holding gold to looking at other types of assets like Bitcoin is a trend that's been years in the making. I think if you take a step back, at BlackRock in 2023, we released our new framework for thematic investing called Mega Forces. And that was the first time we really identified geopolitical fragmentation as a mega force that is driving the world forward over the next several decades. This is materializing in a lot of different ways. It is geopolitical risk between countries. It is materializing in policies like reshoring in the United States. And I think directly related to that geopolitical fragmentation megaforce has been the rise of things like Bitcoin, as people see more destabilization in geopolitics, resulting in the need for more alternatives.
Yeah, you might have found that a little bit boring because it's the same old shit. But one, he is from BlackRock, okay? Two, people listen to Squawk Box, especially older, larger net worth individuals that are slowly starting to get orange pilled. And two, did you notice that he's just really talking about Bitcoin? Old mate says, do you think that, with the Trump tariff uncertainties, things are going to go down for dollar, down for stocks, and up for Bitcoin and crypto? And then when this fella repeated what he said, he just said Bitcoin. He didn't say crypto. So you just have to remember the difference between the two categories of blockchain tech assets. Is Bitcoin is the only one looked at typically as a store of value. You can make arguments for other ones, but they don't really hold in a court. The Bitcoin, the rapist. The Bitcoin, the rapist. We're going to fucking teleport. This sort of shit does happen, actually. That's why I wanted to show you this, because when it does grind up like this, it's just green bars. So this is the knot. So it's forming a knot. Okay, so you have a large leg up, and it forms a knot. This is typically when in price discovery that it matters the most, or it's the most accurate. These knots, as you can see, it made a knot and then it comes back down and tries to untie the knot. See, really equally here, this is almost always, very large majority of the time, a huge breakup will come back and retest the knot, and it did here very, very obviously. But here, it can definitely do this same bit of price action, come up a lot further, come down and make a higher low when it comes and retests this. So if you're looking at it in a Bitcoin sense, So if we flicked over to like a daily chart here, maybe we can find one a little bit cleaner. You can tell we've been doing a lot of work. Here we go. So you've got a knot, right? We'll just talk about the knot. So you've got a knot here. Boom, boom. See that knot right there? Bang. Comes along, comes back down, forms that's the bottom. So you put buy orders on the knot. And then something like this happening again, this knot. So what you're looking at here is typically a breakout. You might get, let's just do this sort of relatively properly. Okay, this is sort of something that you're probably going to see, believe it or not, in the coming future. Something like this. Okay, so you're looking at, this is probably, now it's going to be moving around, but you look and see, it's going to be something like this most likely, right? Okay, be like bots. Now we're going to go up here, then we're going to go down here, we're going to come down, and then it's going to go bang, bang. And this is where it will go parabolic, pretty much, up here. And then, hopefully it makes it a bit higher than that, but, this is typically how trends work, so. This will become a knot. This will become a retest of the knot. There's a price prediction for you. So there's that for you. Are you ready for what comes next? I always use this analogy of holding down a ball underwater. It's good for momentum analogies because this is what happens a lot with stochastic. On the stochastic momentum, we were actually going to go and look at the Bitcoin chart next, but we've already done it. So something like this probably. Something like this, just it'll have probably like a freak out, like a head fake freak out here where it goes above, makes new all-time highs, and then people panic and sell it because they've been hurt before. Comes back down, retests this knot in the 90s. This will be the last, if this isn't already, this will be the last chance you ever get to buy Bitcoin under 90k. I don't think this will actually go down as far. It'll be like probably something crazy like this. Actually, to be fair, where do you think we are? I think hope. Yeah, I think we're at hope at the minute. Yep, I think that we're at hope with Bitcoin. And let me just add that a lot of these altcoins, I really don't think that they're going to make new highs. I don't like saying it. I really don't. But you get some make new highs probably. But yeah, you get a few that definitely won't, man. It's very hard to get new highs on altcoins that are just vaporware. Very, very hard. This actually supports what I was just saying before, which is, if you didn't have them already, good luck getting your chips when there are no dips. Yeah, so on this large expansion, volatility expansion that we're looking at right now. All right, let's start talking about some altcoins. Ethereum lagging, no surprise with the diagonal downtrend breakout. Just so it doesn't feel bad about itself, I drew a new diagonal so it can say it broke out of something. Well, we had that already over on our chart, didn't we? Let's have a little look. Yeah, we had that channel there as well. So we had this big channel here, and it did break out. I mean, it's just fucking piss weak. Ethereum still doing the same thing as we talked about yesterday, so just absolutely pathetic and piss weak. Something a bit more interesting is, I meant to look at this earlier here. Bitcoin hits 2-month highs of 95.5k amid surge in ETF flows, strongest since start of the year. So the ETFs are flowing back in. Okay, ETFs are just typically flowing in when the price is pumping. There's no like, they're not really usually early. They typically haven't been flowing when it's downtrending, but it's just people buying it. ETF inflows is just people buying it, so you know how that goes. Let's have a look at Solana. Solana looks a little bit, look at that. If Solana's going to go, it's going to go a lot. It's going to go into the 200s soon because this channel is ridiculously steep. So I'm expecting higher prices in Solana. I stick by that if it's going to hold that channel. This is something I wrote actually this morning. There is no doubt that Solana has recovered and is recovering better than Ethereum. I'm old school, been around a while, 2017, and it's hard to see Ethereum fade into irrelevance, but if anything, I will let the charts do the talking, and that is what we've been doing, and that is what we're looking at. Ethereum is piss weak on the chart. If you get on the wrong train, the sooner you realize and get off at the next station, the cheaper the lesson will be. So I'm talking about, get off the Ethereum train and jump on the Solana train is how it's looking at the minute, because look, if we're just going off price action, Ethereum should be, if we're going off price recovery compared to Bitcoin, Ethereum should be $2,500, and it's not. It's $1,700 still, so that's just fucked. Okay, it's high. People ask me what crypto they should buy. It's really hard to say Ethereum at the minute. Really hard. Really hard. What's this wank job got to say? I told you I'll tell you again. Last year wasn't a bull run. It was some deformed, inbred, retard mutant cow that got loose in the field. The real bull is approaching. Last year's all-time highs will look like an ant poop next to future prices. So, yeah, broken clock, always right. Once a day or whatever it is, and twice a day, once a day, once a day. He just keeps saying that, and then eventually, hopefully, he's right for everybody's sake. But he's just permabull, and I respect that. I actually do really respect a permabull, but you just got to see it. We got to see it in the charts. Dogecoin still in this range. Well, it's breaking out of this little range, but you've got a downside, you've got an upside. Like realistically, I'd like to have this range here to like feel completely confident about it, because this is the true bottoming formation that's going on right now in Dogecoin, or attempt for at least. So yeah, long way from home. I mean, it's taken steps. But it'd be nice to see wouldn't it, a bit of Doge action. He's not retarded, he's just adjusting his thesis. People slowly deleting their bearish tweets. Yeah, that's the worst thing. That's the worst thing about crypto Twitter, is just people just, if you just say a million things, like if, I don't know how they've got the time to do it. They just go and they post like 20 things a day, and then they just go back and delete shit, and then just keep the shit and repost the shit that ended up happening. Like, go say 20 different things that could happen, and then one of them's going to be right, and then you just delete all the others, and then just. But realistically, changing your thesis is how you prove your intelligence, because when something's wrong, you just have to change and adapt to it. So this is actually like legit. What's XRP doing? Ranging, coiling, blue bars, gigabars, 12-hour chart, big move, potentially, large, long, go long, go strong, chance to come back up to range highs are now, relatively bullish. Go XRP. Fartcoin, the leading industry, the industry leader of altcoins. Fartcoin's approaching all-time highs. It's only 100% away from it, but it doesn't look like that far, does it? Because it's already gone up a 5x since March. It started moving up before any other altcoin. This is the leading altcoin. It is very funny that it makes you anger. It angers you. No crying in the casino. So if you're down bad. You can't cry about it. Don't cry about it. Let's have a look at the dollar. The American dollar. So the American dollar followed our prediction line. Didn't go as high. So even bit more bearish than I thought. Range lows, busted down. So anything below this yellow horizontal line, as we've been saying this whole time, anything below this yellow horizontal line helps crypto pump. This has been the way since 2022. This has been the way. So the dollar is playing ball, and that helps our cause. Okay, the dollar is playing ball. That helps our cause. So dollar is looking very weak. It helps crypto pump. We do not want to see that go up. 12 days left till FOMC meeting. So don't worry about this SZN shit. I'm just talking about that there is 12 days left till FOMC. Very important time. Tim Draper's a legend. Just in, billionaire Tim Draper says gold is dead and that Bitcoin is permissionless and programmable. Perhaps they could co-inhabit the earth. Let's have a look. Gold doesn't look very dead to me. I still think that it's going to top around here, but we'll see. Hey, I'm happy to be proven wrong. It's just got a trend. It's got a parabolic exit. It's got large, significant numbers being broken. It's extremes, huge extremes on multiple time frames. It's looking a bit toppy there. I think gold goes sideways here for a little while, recharges, reloads. That's my opinion, but it's sure as fuck not dead, that's for sure. Here's a good one for you. Yeah, well, everything's high risk if you're a pussy. Yeah, well, everything's high risk if you're a pussy. People won't even, pussies won't even buy any gold. Pussies won't even buy any Bitcoin. Pussies won't even go and talk to the girl at the bar. High risk, too high risk. Pussies won't even try another career, too high risk. Okay, pussies. Everything's high risk if you're a pussy. Okay, just keep that in mind. Everything is high risk if you're a pussy. Pussy. Bitcoin broke out of its diagonal before stocks. Bitcoin dropped before stocks. So far in 2025, it feels like it's been a leading indicator. This is 100% accurate. Stocks are still lagging Bitcoin, but on the other hand, stocks are also recovering. Look at this large, strong bottom. Remember how the other video the other day we went back and said this is exactly what it's going to do. It's going to come hard and it's going to bounce hard because that's what it does. Shit like this. Bang, 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 bang. Bounces hard, dumps hard, bounces hard. This is where it is. Come back into the trend, come back into the channel again. If it makes it back up into this range up here, then it's all go for the stock market. It just needs to get back up above 5,830. This is all that the stock market needs. Okay, typically it's still downtrending. It's at channel highs. It's got a lot of work to do to get back into this range, but if it gets back into this range, it's all systems go. Total altcoin market cap excluding top 10 coins, aka others, is finally breaking out of its 138-day downtrend. So this is really good to see for altcoins. We needed to break above this high here. We need to break above this high. Right there. Let's have a look at it excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum. Yeah, same. This high here is where it needs to break above. Really important. Really, more or less where it is right now. This needs to break up and show us that new money is coming back into crypto, back into the altcoins at least. Yep, again, altcoin others pretty convincing downtrend break. Would agree. We just talked about that. We're going to wrap this up in a second. I'm just going to look at a couple of altcoins with you. So, got some blue bars on these altcoins. Just wanted to show you. Yesterday we were talking about these different altcoins, right? So we got blue bar altcoins, these ones that we talked about yesterday. Remember, this was like yesterday, and it's already up. Things are moving. Things are up percentages. Blue bar expansion. Like, look at this. We were talking about this yesterday here. Now look at it. It was 13 cents. Got to 16.5 cents. That's 20% gains. Do you remember yesterday's stream? We were talking about it being here. Okay, so look at these blue bars. Look at this bounce that we just said that's going to happen. This is actually a fantastic entry for Tron, and I'm going to do it right now. As soon as I get off this, I'm going to long Tron. Very, very. I'm going to long Tron. Put my stop loss. Oh. See, this is the liquidation wick that's came out and tried to attack these stop losses that are below this point here, and they failed. It's getting defended very strongly. You can just put, I'd like to go here, and then I'd like to get an extra at least 1%, at least bare minimum 1%. So obviously the larger your stop loss, the lower the risk. But if you want to take a punt on Tron with a 2.5% stop loss, that'd be the maximum risk that I would take on. Otherwise, you start putting stop losses in better places. But this could definitely shoot. Oof, looks nice. Let me write this down. Put a note in front of me. TRX long 25%. Yep, here we go. 2.5. Done. All right. So a couple of blue bars that we got. Oh my God! Look at this. XCM. Look at this. Didn't get to blue bar. Would have blue barred on lower time frames if you're watching like the 8 hour or something. Look at that. Blue bars. Says a new move is starting. Bang. Holy shit, man. What do we got here? We've got a couple of blue bars. FLR. Looking for a short squeeze. Looks pretty ugly. Looks pretty sad. Orca. This looks like it's about to pop. See this? Blue bar. Says new move is beginning. Right there. Boom. Blue bar. New move is beginning. Bang. What was that? New move is beginning. Just 160%. Chuck a couple of leverage on that. All of a sudden it's a 10x. Wow. Okay, so Orca. Yeah. Orca and TRX. Alright. Anyways, I've got to go. I've got trades to put on. Take it easy. Talk tomorrow. See you then. Bye bye.